Hello everyone. My name is Phoenix and we are doing something a little bit different for my channel today. I'm going to talk about the Rivian that my family just bought this year. We picked up the Standard R1S dual motor on January 2nd, so we've had it a little over almost 6 months now, and we are greatly enjoying it. And so, as being a two car household, this made perfect sense for me and my family to have one electric vehicle and one gas vehicle. That way we can get around any sort of hoopla about the charging network, but right, any of that right stuff. So long trips, we take my F-150 Tremor, and then around town, we primarily use the Rivian. It is awesome. It is way cheaper to drive. Gas versus electricity costs in Wisconsin, right, is, great. And this is my car, right? This is not someone that got a loaner from, Rivian or the automakers or whatever, right? It comes complimentary with bird poop on the hood right now and is quite dirty. I haven't washed it in a bit, right? This is a family car, right? We're using it like you're supposed to use it. I do have the ride height right now up all the way, so that is as high as it goes. We do like that feature, right? The air suspension allows the car to raise and lower a little bit. It also has a kneel function, where basically as you go into park, it lowers the car as low as it'll go, and that actually has been really nice for getting my aging parents in and out when I've had to take them places. Having the car a little bit lower is helpful for them, and then also the kids too. We have 2 young children. And so that helps them to climb in and out of the vehicle, right? And then, so on the left here, you can see the other vehicle that I've had. That's a 2022 F-150 Tremor, right? So I'm just trying to look at ride height, right? So this is just a little bit, it's almost the same, right? I didn't measure or anything like that, right? But very similar, right? So kind of nice, kind of cool to see that in the SUV. But yeah, like I said, it's up as high as it'll go right now. And the thing that we don't like about the Rivian, right, is of course the cost. I will show you the configuration that I picked. This is not the standard quote unquote freebie color either, right? And then, so even with a decent down payment that we saved up as well as a trade-in, it's still easily the biggest car payment my wife and I have ever had. So that is probably the only downside thus far. I did have 3 issues with the vehicle, and I waited until after sort of getting service done on it to make this video so that I could kind of describe that experience as well, which in general was pretty good and pretty great. They did fix everything for me quite quickly, actually, so that was nice also. And then, if, we're, Midwest, I'm in Wisconsin, right, and so we are doing 100% of our charging at the house, at home, in the garage. I never use fast chargers at all, right, so I think if I were having to use public chargers, I probably wouldn't go with an electric car, one of each, right? And then the other thing too is that's really big is there's a service center somewhat close to my house, right? There is one in the southeast Wisconsin area. And so if it was too far away, I definitely would not, right? I'm not driving, 100 miles to get my car service, right? So those would be my deciding factors. There are some other, right? There's every automaker out there now has some electric car, right? So you could get, you could go wherever your nearest dealer is. I do have really good relationship with my Ford dealer that is by my house that we bought the Tremor from. And so we were considering the Mach-E as well, and actually did kind of dabble in the area of, looking at an F-150 Lightning, right? The electric variant of the F-150. And that is actually very comparable in cost when you kind of consider features for feature, right? Like for like of the vehicle, right? I think now, and I'll bring it up later in the video too, but if you configure a gas F-150 to have all the sort of same features as the electric one does, I think the electric one can even be a little bit cheaper, right? So one thing I don't see a lot of people doing is showing off how car seats and stuff work in these vehicles. I love having the extra space in the sort of, I don't know what you'd classify this, right, mid-size SUV, right? So I have 2 young kids. That is also part of how we've been able to pay for this vehicle. One of them is no longer in daycare, and that is a mortgage payment in itself, right? So that is helping us with the payment. Only having one in daycare right now. But there is just barely enough room for me to sit my butt in between the two seats there. I do like being able to get into the vehicle like that, to like kind of kneel on the car seat to get it in there as tight as you're supposed to have it, right? So props to those of you with smaller cars, pushing those car seats down to get them in tight enough. And we're just going to compare, right? This is me getting into my F-150. This is what I love. Like, this has got just the king of pickup truck back seats. Right, so we've taken this on long trips with both kids in car seats, and two dogs have enough room to sit on, lay down on the floor. I have two like 50-pound mid-sized dogs, right? And you can actually very, very comfortably sit in the middle of the seat there. So that was actually really great, because occasionally my wife would go and sit in that middle seat between the two kids, right? That's not really doable in the Rivian, but granted, it's smaller, right? Inside the car, right, there's a button to push to get in and out, and then you do have in the front seats a manual lever to get in and out. I kind of wish the back seats had that option as well. The back seats only have a button. There is allegedly a manual release underneath this like panel that's right here, like that I'm kind of trying to show, but you'd have to pull the panel off, and I didn't want to do that for the sake of this video, because, well, like, it doesn't seem to like come off easily, right? So that'd be my one gripe about the back seats. Like, I get it, right? Cost savings, whatever, blah blah blah, but yeah, there's only a button back there. I did read in the manual, right? Emergency situations, the vehicle unlocks automatically anyway, so wasn't too concerned there. And then, yeah, without the car seats, it's actually quite spacious in the back. Yeah, I am actually 6'2", right? I am tall, and starting to get my beer belly in here as I age here, and the balding head, right? But and then getting into the third row is actually really, really easy, in comparison to other like SUVs of the size. There's literally a one-button push, and it moves the chair. It moves the second row forward, and moves the seat back right up a little bit, right too. So that's actually super, super easy. So even me at 6'2", I don't have a problem getting in and out of the back row. If I needed to, I probably wouldn't put adult friends back there, right? I'd say probably best for kids and stuff, but yeah, it is nice and easy to get in and out, and I do love the interior quality. It absolutely is what you pay for in that area, right? Because these until the R2 platform comes out, right, these are quite expensive when it comes to a car. Yeah, these are the third row, right? It looks great. The seats are, the same type of quality. Everything is awesome in it. And there's a couple of cup holders back there and a little storage compartment on each side. Right, so not too shabby for a three-row SUV. This is actually really, really great. We almost never use that third row. Most of the time I've got the car seats in, and then it's pretty much impossible to get in and out, right? And then, the seats, even with having suffered the abuse of having car seats on top of them, are standing up quite well. I do put like a little thing in there, right? And then, yeah, you get a little bit of a screen in the back, right? It'll show nav and stuff on there and music information. You do get two charger ports here, right, for USB. I think it's a little redundant that there's also charge ports on the back of the seats. I think that, like, that's too, like, I don't need four in the back, right? Like, that's a lot. So yeah, there's some things, like some quirks here and there where I'm like, yeah, I could have, reduced some cost, right? And then, yeah, that's a wireless charger pad there. For the front seats, there are USBs in the front as well. I think maybe in the glove box there are one. I'm not sure. I can't remember, right? And then, yeah, you do get the nice panoramic roof on the dual, this big glass roof. On the dual motor, like, standard one, you don't get the, like, electrified, like, opaque, where you can, like, make it go not see-through. But honestly, like, the tinting on it is actually just right? It's perfect for sunny days. It's not too bright, and then you can still kind of see through it in the dark as well. There's just some more view of the back seat, right, of the third row from the second row. They also get a window above them as well, so you can kind of see that two-pane window there. And then the back area, coming up the rear here, right, is great as well. I do love the storage in this thing. It is pretty epic. The third row folds down really, really easily here like this. There's just these levers here. It even, folds in the headrests as well, and then you just throw those down. And then actually it also, for that second row, you can push those down with these buttons here. and they just magically fold it down. And so you push those buttons and those go down all by themselves. So you get an epic amount of room here, and I just love it. I didn't like, this two panel. I don't know, like part of the panel folds down and then the main tailgate folds up, right? I was kind of skeptical about that, but I actually really do like it. So here's me just sitting in the back with all three, the back two rows folded down, right? And so there's quite a bit of space back there, right? So that is awesome and nice. So you could haul some pretty hefty items in there if you really, really needed to, right? But love the convenience and feature of that. And then, yeah, so for this, hatchback or tailgate, whatever you want to call this, right? Only part of it, the top part folds up, and then this bottom part, gives you this extra like lip room here, right? Where, which at first I was like, man, that's kind of stupid and it's just extra parts, right? But in reality, I like that, having that. And so like you can, yeah, and here's like what the back seat storage looks like, right? But yeah, it's actually kind of nice having that extra, like lower side door there. Because then like stuff's not falling out as you open up the rear hatch. And then also it makes for a good little ledge to like kind of sit on. You do get a power outlet back here, right? 1500 watts max is pretty, that's pretty beefy, right? So that's kind of nice too. Power goes out, run an extension cord through your garage to your Rivian, right? Power some things. Quite a bit of, yeah, there's a big hefty storage compartment there on that side. But yeah, this little like tailgate in the back thing, right? Like I actually like it, right? It was something that when I saw on video at first I thought it was kind of stupid, but it makes for a good seat there. And then, dogs jumping in and out, right? And then also it makes that top portion of the trunk not as big, and so I'm actually able to open that while the vehicle's in my garage, which is something that I didn't think of, right? So because that's not as big, right? Previously, I think we had a 2015 Ford Explorer, and if I didn't pull, I had to really pull up far to be able to open the tailgate in the garage, right? So, and yeah, around the vehicle, you will. I think we could probably have this vehicle for years and still find new Rivian logos throughout it, right? So I think they maybe a little bit overdid it there, but that's fine. Whatever, you do you, right? But yes, the Rivian is all over the place. Okay, issues. Issue number one was the big one that made me schedule the service appointment. The charge port door stopped working for us, right? So my wife unplugged it one day after having charged it. We didn't bump it. We didn't do anything to it, and it just wouldn't close, right? So it was stuck floppy like that. I don't think, I was trying to look around to see if that was a common issue, and it didn't appear to be, but it's one of those things where I was like, it just kind of feels over-engineered, right? And then thing number two, the HVAC, when it was really cold, was making this vibrating sound, so you can turn your volume up and hear that here. Right, so that was only doing that when it was really cold out. Yeah, I told service about that. And then thing number three was the driver's side doors were, it wasn't doing this when we took delivery, right? So it was a couple months later, and then they started rubbing against each other as you opened and closed the back door. And so it was creating a scratch there, right? So, but now, so they fixed the charge port door. It works perfectly fine and normal again. But yeah, it was one of those things when I was, we were shopping for vehicles. I was like, this is a little over-engineered. Like, give me a normal, just like gasoline, pop it open, pop it shut door, right? And sure enough, mine broke. But like I said, I didn't see that was a common issue, right? I think we just had bad luck there. But yeah, it works perfectly fine now. Of course, Rivian didn't charge us anything to fix any of these issues. They have a really, really great warranty, especially when it comes to the battery and drive units, right? Those are just as good, if not better, than what you would get, normally from normal gas car manufacturers these days. And here's the two vehicles in my garage, right? I think I have a pretty standard-ish, maybe just a little bit wider, sort of suburban American garage. My F-150 just kind of barely fits in here. And then we do have the charger mounted on the wall there. That is an extra cost too, right? One thing that I think a lot of people don't call out is the how cool this thing is at night as well. Like, right? It's more parts and stuff, but The mirrors do project the Rivian logo on the ground at night. And then inside, right, you get this accent lighting, and you can actually have several options for colors. I think I like the purple the best, but here I was just like trying to, I was in my garage with the lights out, and I was just cycling through some of the different like color choices you could have, right? So it's always hard to like capture on my cell phone video here, right? I'm nobody cool, so I don't have fancy cameras and microphones and all the other stuff, right? So this is what you get, right? So, but yeah, I really do like that. Like, I think the reds and oranges are cool, and then I really like I think the purple is like my favorite, right? But, you do you. It's kind of nice, right? It's another thing where it's just like that's so many more parts, right? That could help dial down cost a little bit. But yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the cost and pricing and kind of sort of how much I'm spending on gas versus electric here, right? I know these are absolutely not apples to apples comparisons, right? It's it's a SUV versus my full size pickup. I don't think the Tremor is anything special when it comes to gas mileage. I think it was like 16 city and 20 highway, and when real life hits, that's a little bit different too, right? But absolutely loving the Rivian here. So we'll go into that kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, but the other thing too with why we went with the Rivian versus a different electric car too is like I follow quite a few sort of automotive channels and stuff on YouTube, especially. And I've noticed that most of the people that do some like car reviews and stuff, they keep their Rivians, right? Like all the other cars they do a lot of like reviewing of, but like the Rivians seem to be the ones that people are like actually hanging on to when it comes to those influencers, right? I am not cool enough to get any sort of like perks or benefits or for anybody to ever lend me a car for a week, right? Just to have me do anything, right? My channel has been video games thus far, right? So, but yeah. So that's just kind of like, my 2 cents was like kind of why I leaned that direction, even though it is, yes, they are pricey for the average American, right? So like I said, if we didn't have a kid out of daycare, right? We have my wife and I have always had, decent full-time jobs with, side gigs that we do here and there to earn some extra money. But we can talk about gas prices, right? So this is at time of recording, right? So Rivian on the left and my F-150 on the right, right? I know absolutely these are not apples to apples comparison, guys. I get it, but go ahead and leave your hate mail in the comments. I will read them, right? But the Rivian, I have bought the stripped down, slowest version of this vehicle, right, to try and get the price down as best I could. So battery capacity 92.5 kilowatts, right? Like if you don't know much about that, right, you pick up on it quite quickly, right? But electricity in Wisconsin, right, where I'm at, is about 17 cents per kilowatt hour. So if you do the math there, filling it up, if you were at zero, right, if you're at zero charge to full charge, filling it up would be about $15, right? And then the range with the tires that I picked is about 258 miles is what it says. And so I was trying to do the math, like miles per kilowatt hour. This is what Rivian says, right? 2.78. I think I was getting like 2.68 in good conditions, right? Obviously gonna be worse in the winter time, right? And all that other fun stuff. So my cost per mile was about 6 cents a mile, right? Versus kind of all the same information for the Tremor over on the right, paying about 17 or 18 cents per mile, right? And that's got a 36 gallon tank, right? So filling that thing up is $109. And so on the bottom left over there, I was like, okay, how 600 miles in comparison to fill up 600 miles of range for the electricity they pay, right? About $36. So that's the comparison there. But like, yeah, if you don't have the budget for the Rivian, like every automaker out there makes a more budget friendly vehicle. So Toyota's got this BZ4X that starts at $37,000, right? The Model S from Tesla, I took a quick peek at there, right? If you do the cash option, right, 42,000 for, and that one's got 363 miles of range for that version, right? So like there's more budget friendly cars, especially used these days, right? Especially Tesla's used these days, right? Too. Chevy Equinox, their EV starts at 33.6, right? So like that's good, and that Silverado EV 73,000, right? That sucker's got some range on it as well. Right, so there's other options out there, right? Like, and especially the used market right now. Ford has their Mustang Mach E that starts at 37.9, and then I was talking about the F-150 Lightning too. We were considering that, right? Versus so keep a gas powered SUV, right, for our family driver, and then use the Lightning, right? But I think we went the right way, right? Because my wife's a little bit more comfortable driving the Rivian versus my bigger truck. So basically, what we do is like if we're around town, whether it's me or her, right? I drive the Rivian, and she drives the Rivian, and then if we go places or need the two vehicles, then I take the truck, right? Just for the gas savings. But if you look at the Lightning, it starts at 62.9, and actually today, if you get when I took a peek at how much the Tremor is like 64, right? And that Lightning's probably got more features on it, right? So like if you shop for a comparable electric vehicle, right, the F-150 is the perfect example of like it is actually about the same price, if not cheaper, in some scenarios. So I get why they're phasing out, federal tax credits and stuff at least when it comes to that space, right? I'm all about doing things to make people help, a little cheaper if it's bought in America, that kind of thing, or that kind of stuff. I'm all about that, but yeah, I totally get it, totally get it. So let's go into how I configured my Rivian, right? And if you've made it thus far, right, I do have a referral code, right? If you're interested, I'm gonna put that in the description, right? So please do use my referral code if you do end up putting a down payment on the Rivian. But right, if you go to Rivian's website, if you look at the R1S, right, I was not interested in the truck. I could do a whole video on why I wasn't interested in the truck, right? And that's why I have the F-150. But yeah, the dual standard RS, right, is the one I picked all the way over on the left. And then, of course, yes, if you want to pay more than 100 grand for this thing, you absolutely can. You can get up to 2.9 seconds 0 to 60. That is absolute insanity. Nobody ever needs that. But if you want it for bragging rights, you do you. The 0 to 60, 4.5 seconds is crazy quick to me, and that is the slowest one, right? So that's the slowest Rivian they make. And to me, that's pure insanity, right? So when you click on it here, it is going to bump you up to 77,000. And the reason it does that is because it puts the better range wheels on, right? So I switched to these all season wheels. I liked those tires better anyway. I'm not a fan of huge rims either. So I was happy to do that, but it of course does take away a little bit of range. The other thing that my wife and I didn't like is the base color that you get, this gray. I have seen that in person, and I'm glad I did not pick that. So we fought a little bit over what color to choose because it does add a little bit of money to it as well. So it kind of makes up for me switching the tires out. But we went with this L Cap Granite, right, 2500, and we absolutely do like it a lot. I did see at the service center a one in black, and I thought that looked really good as well. Right, but yeah, so that's what we did, right? So just but and we actually, the green is fine too. We actually both really liked the Rivian blue, but you don't get as many color choices on the R1S Dual Standard. You have to go up to the R1S Dual, right, which has better range. Comes with better range. And then you get some more color options, and then you would get the option for the blue. I do like that though. That we've seen that one in person as well, and looks really, really good. So we were a little bit jealous of that, but I wasn't. We were trying to stay within budget. And then for referral code, make sure when you're putting in your deposit, you click on this add referral code and put my code in there. If you miss that, the Rivian's a little bit stubborn about giving it to you if you forget to put it in there, right? So, yeah, just heads up on that one. I ran into that, right? I tried to use someone's referral code, and I think I clicked around too much, and I clicked on their link, and it didn't populate it in there, right? So make sure, like, you go, right? So I kind of had to go a little bit back and forth with them, and I was like, hey, like, this was part of the reason I bought the car was because I was trying to use someone's referral code, right? So go ahead and use mine, but yeah, just make sure it's typed in here in the referral code section before you click go. What that does is it gives you some free access to some free charging in certain locations, right? And then it gives you some credits for the gear shop. So if you want to buy, like, put that towards your charger or your wall charger or like some floor mats or like whatever, right? But Yeah, like I said, so we are thoroughly enjoying it. We love the Rivian thus far. We've had it about 6 months. Um, like I said, yeah, the part of my decision making process there was we liked the size, right? I have a couple of friends that have Model Ys, and they use it as their everyday drivers and family cars and stuff like that. But for going on trips, they were a little bit jealous of the extra space that I had in the Rivian in comparison to like the Model Y, right? So, folks with two kids and now like a dog, right? Like there's just no right, cramming all of that in a Model Y is a little rough for a trip anywhere, right, or an overnight stay or whatever. But like I said, most of the time for us, we use the pickup truck because we can throw all our luggage in the truck bed. Got a watertight bed cover, and then all the people fit just fine, right? But and then the reason we went with the Rivian ultimately that extra space. We love the car. Like I said, I follow some other truck or car vehicle YouTube channels, and it just seemed like that seemed to be a trend a lot. And I noticed a lot of those folks actually keeping their Rivians versus trading out and exchanging other vehicles as they were doing reviews on them. So you get one from me, a true life real person that had to spend his real hard-earned money on the vehicle and will be doing so for several years now. And then service was great, right? So I had those couple of issues, and I got on, you can do it all through the app or through chat, scheduled with my closest service center. They actually got me in the next week, and then they had it for 2 nights and fixed all 3 of those issues. It was awesome. They do give out loaners, right? If you need one. They didn't have any for me available. They were all out, so they actually even offered me a rental for free that they were going to pay for, but we just ended up, I was like, we got the truck, we can go the 2 nights without, right? So, but yeah, if you guys are interested in anything else with the vehicle, please leave suggestions down in the comments. I may do some videos in the future if people are interested. But yeah, thanks again for watching. Make sure to follow the channel.